Hey Periscopers, this is ShaniTClark, and I just wanted to say hi to you all. Trying to get my hair fixed. And tonight, I didn't really plan on sitting down and doing this type of scope. I was just going to pop in and say hi really quick, but I really felt this on my heart tonight. Actually, all this week, I've been thinking about the topic of, hey Periscoper, thank you for coming. And I was just saying that tonight I have been really thinking about this topic of core values. And again, my name is ShaniTClark, and I'm a professional and personal development coach, as well as a speaker, trainer, consultant. And when I'm working with different clients, one of the things that we talk about, just like many of you do, when it comes to your business, that you want to focus on defining your core values. Defining what's really important to you, how you are going to focus in on your business. What do you want the characteristics of your business to be? What do you want to focus on in your life? And that those characteristics are not just seen by your clients, but they're seen by anyone who comes across you, that they really define your brand. And I teach also in the classroom at the collegiate level. And when I'm teaching in the classroom, we define values as things that are principles or rules that guide your behavior. Values are principles or rules that guide your behavior. And for me, that stands out because we can say we think a certain way, we can say we behave a certain way, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's who we are. And that really stood out to me because I was thinking about this weekend, some of the people I was coming across. I took some students on a trip to Savannah. And when we went on the trip, we started talking about some of the art pieces we see and the characters in history and what they stood for and what their legacy was and the imprint that they made on different people's lives. And thinking about how the way they thought sometimes came across in their work, and sometimes their behaviors didn't always match up with the ideals that they tried to portray in their artwork. And sometimes we can be like that too. We have these ideas, we have these concepts, we have these beliefs, but they don't necessarily show up in our behaviors. And are we like that? Are we kind of like the people that say we have all these values that we stand for that are important to us, but no one around us actually sees them come out? So for example, are you someone who says that you believe in teamwork, but if I was going to go behind the scenes and talk to the people who work with you, they say that you're difficult to get along with? If you say that you believe in being responsible, yet no one can count on you. And that was standing out. I was listening to other scopes, and people had kind of that same theme flowing throughout their talks of what is your true core value? What are your values? What are the things that guide your behavior? And what does it come down to? Do you really believe in those things? Because when we say we believe something, we should be able to go further and see it out in our behaviors. Do you have a belief system that you don't act on? Do you have a thought process that you don't actually get into? Do you have patterns in your life that don't necessarily showcase what you consider to be important, that other people around you may not know that you even believe those things because they don't see them in your life? And that kind of hit hard for me because I was thinking a lot about my own behaviors, my own actions. And I knew that there were some things that automatically stood out that I knew people could see because they told me. But then I also was starting to think about other things, other areas in my life that I know I need to work on. Because in the truth, we are not perfect, right? No one is going to be perfect in every area. But we all have some areas that we know we need to work on that we don't hit on. So for me, it's really about getting to the point where I'm not just saying I believe something, but I never really work it out. I never walk it out. No one else can ever see it in my life. When I say I have core values, are those the attributes that people experience when they are in business with me? If they're my customers, if they're my clients, if they're my friends, if they're my family members, is there a consistent message across those different areas, those different avenues in my life where they would say, yes, you are like this. Yes, Shani is responsible. Yes, Shani is patient. Now, of course, in these different areas, are we going to act the same way? No, we don't. We're not going to act the same way with the client as we do with our family members. But those key attributes, the things that really stand out about us, the things that matter, those things should be seen. And for me, those attributes where I take my values from are biblically based. They come from the Bible, because as a Christian, that's my core area that tells me how I should behave, how I should act, how I should be. The Bible is where my standard is. That is my center of morality, my center of thought process, my center where I say who I'm supposed to be like. That is my reflection. So when I look in the Bible, I should be receiving my core values from there. And not only should I receive my core values, those are the principles that, hey, Sheena, thanks for coming. I was just talking about values or principles that guide our behavior. So values are the principles or rules that guide our behavior. And in our lives, can that be seen? So for example, I was giving an example of if you... Okay, you're watching me as you drive. Well, please be safe. Okay, and invite anyone you want to, but please be safe. But I was just thinking about, in our lives, when we're putting together a business, if you look at a lot of famous businesses, they all have these core values that they say they stand by. Like they say they believe in teamwork or integrity. They may talk about the customer service, the customer's always right. They may talk about, they believe in loyalty. Hey, thanks for coming, Divine Purity. And I always love to know people's first names too, because I have your screen name, but I always love first names so I can actually call you by the name you are. But when it comes to your core values, we look at all these different companies and what they stand for. But for some of these companies, if you've ever gone to them, hey, Cassandra, thanks for coming. So if you ever go to different companies, you ever look at their websites and they say they believe in all these things, but then you actually go and have experiences with them and you go, I don't think so. Or if you've worked for the companies and they might say they believe in teamwork, but you know that they really don't. Or they believe in customer service, but they're always really difficult for customers to work with. And so are we like that in some ways? Do we say we have all these certain beliefs? We have these certain values, and values again are principles or rules that guide your behavior. So they are what sets the pattern for your life. They tell you what is acceptable or not acceptable. And does your life have those patterns where you say one thing, but you don't necessarily walk in it? That if I was going to tell you these are important values in my life, these are the principles and rules that guide my behavior. And as a Christian, the Bible is my basis where I find my rules for behavior. So for example, in the Bible, Jesus talks about that not only should we love other people how we want to be loved, but we should go further than that. He gave a new commandment that we should love other people based on how he loves us. And he gives us a list of what does it mean to love other people. Love is, and you know this, love is patient, love is kind, love is long suffering, and all these things. Can people see that in our lives? When you're working with someone, and with your family members, when you're meeting someone at school, when you're just coming to meet someone at church, in all these areas, there should be consistency throughout. Can people look at your life and consistently say, yes, she is a patient person? If that is your core value, yeah, we hide behind images, right? We have masks on. But you know what? When people are around us long enough, that mask doesn't last. Right? You can only be fake so long until people start to experience you and they know that, you know what, she might seem like she's a really nice person, right? Your true colors will come out. But if we are going to tell other people, right? If we're going to tell other people these are our values, if I have a business and I'm building my business, and for most of us who have small businesses, we are our brand. Right? People come across us and they experience our business and our core values based on our behavior. If you're going to be a professional, when you walk into that interview, you can say all these lovely things, but after a while of working there, your true self as a professional will come out, and you build your reputation, your image, your brand, not just by what you say, these are my core values, but by how do you carry them out. And we have to be honest with ourselves, because we may have always called ourselves a really patient person. But if our family members, our friends, our coworkers always complain that we're hot-tempered or we don't listen or, you know, all these different things associated with not being patient, we need to stop and look at ourselves. And that hit me this week because I was listening to a bunch of different teachings and scopes, and they were talking about some things and they were hitting on different values. And I started to feel kind of like, ouch, ooch, oh, ooh. Like I started to see myself in certain areas, and I had to be honest. You know, I say these are my core values, but I need to work on these things, because if these things are important to me, I need to show them more. I was also thinking about the fact that our purpose, the assignment that God has given us, yes, we have all these different values within the Bible that God wants to show his attributes. But at the same time, we have very specific things that God kind of gives us tailor-made vision for. Like some people, because of their purpose, are going to be much more having a loving nature, because that's kind of the root of their purpose, their vision, their assignment. So their core value when it comes to love may be much bigger than mine, or responsibility, or whatever your purpose might be. Those values are really going to stand out. So if I know that my purpose is tied to certain values, and I say these are my core values, does that show in my life? Because in order for me to fully fulfill God's purpose for my life, I have to show forth, act on, have a life pattern around those values. My behavior should reflect those. And if it doesn't, we need to take a look. And we can't just hide behind the fact that we say these are our values. We have to sometimes step back and take a check, take a moment to really look at it and say, is this really me? Is this who I'm supposed to be? Am I really showing forth the attributes that really stand out about my life? Or am I showing something different? Are my core values something different than I say they are? Because remember, your core values are the principles and rules that guide your behavior. And when you're upset, when you're tired, when you're hungry, when your feet ache, Many times that's when our core values show up the most. When we're stressed, under pressure, who we really are, our character, our consistency of who we are shines. And that's how we can tell our core values. And in those moments, in those times, who are we? And I just want to encourage you to take a moment and stop and think about your life. Think about the patterns that you have. Think about the different people in your life and step back and say, okay, these are the things that are really important to the purpose and call God has for me. Am I really walking it out in these areas? Because if I say I'm a patient person, am I patient only until I'm hungry, only until I'm tired, only until my feet hurt, only until whatever it might be? And I had to stop and look at that myself. I'm a very patient person until, and then I had to think, I need to work on that. Am I a great team worker until this happens? Am I someone who believes in diversity until that other person disagrees with me and has a totally different viewpoint? So I just wanted you to take a moment just to think about, what are your core values? And to be honest, because, as much as we want all these things to be something that stands out about us, and we want people to see these things in us, and it doesn't mean that you don't have those things shining in you. But do you need to work on those areas to make sure that you have a consistency in your life so that when you say something is important to you, it stands out and that other people can see it so that you're not just holding these values and you think you have them and other people, if they were to comment, would say, I don't really know if that's her. Because you don't want that said. You want it to be consistent and that other people, when they look at your life, they can agree, yes, that's her core values. When they're doing business with you, yes, I've experienced, they have great customer service. That's on my list that I want to show forth great customer service. So that's what my customers should say about me. And am I showing behaviors where my list, where my thoughts actually match up with other people's experiences with me? So I just wanted you to kind of step back and look at, okay, what are my core values? Am I showing behaviors consistently that really walk those values out? And then working with other people and making sure that they also see those consistencies in my life. That I'm not just kind of in some cloud thinking I'm really great in an area. And really, I have some weaknesses. So that's been on me this week. And I know that's kind of tough because we don't always want to look at the truth of who we are. But I hope that you do take a moment just to think about what are my core values, being honest about your values, being honest about your behaviors, being honest about other people's experiences of you, and then being able to step back and go, okay, God, show me how to improve in this area, and not being so hurt, not being so prideful that you're not willing to make changes to really walk out your purpose fully. So, Sheena, I wanted to thank you for joining me tonight, and Cassandra, and to anyone who's watching me on the web. And for those of you who come on replay, if you haven't listened to any of my Thursday Scopes, please come. It'll be tomorrow night at 9 p.m. And I'm going to talk about the importance of surrender in order to be powerful. So that's going to be interesting. And then, of course, always on Sundays after around 1 o'clock-ish, I do my purpose scopes, interviewing someone about their purpose and how they walked into something unique. And also, if you haven't checked it out yet, my webinar is going to be on December the 15th at 8 p.m. And I'm going to be talking about living in victory, how to how to get past emotions that kind of defeat you, how to get past those emotions that try to take you down, how to really define your purpose and calling, and then how to fully live out the vision God has given you. So if you are interested in following me, you can find me on Facebook as ShaniTClark, on Twitter as ShaniTClark, on Periscope as ShaniTClark, and then on my website, it is ShaniTClark.weebly.com, and you can also see my email address is ShaniTClark.ma@gmail.com. But you can see my web address on my profile on Periscope. But thank you for coming tonight, and I hope that you have a little rest and get some sleep and drive home safe. I'll see ya. Bye, Sheena. Have a good night.